This is my favorite flip retro handheld. So in this video, I want to talk about why I love this handheld so much, and also go over some of the leaks about the Miyoo Mini Flip, or the Miyoo Flip. I don't think there's an official name out yet. This is the Powkiddy V90. So the Powkiddy V90 has actually been out for a very long time. It doesn't really get talked about a lot, but truth be told, it's actually one of my favorite retro handhelds that I own, and it's not because it's the most powerful one I own. It's not because it has the best screen or the best controls or anything like that, really. It's just because it looks almost identical to the Game Boy Advance SP, and clearly that was an intentional decision. It's pretty simple. You can just see a USB-C port, a headphone jack, a battery compartment with a replaceable, pretty common battery inside, a volume wheel, R1, L1, R2, L2 buttons, a power switch, and a micro SD card, and that's it. It's pretty simple, but there's something about this clamshell folding design that I just love and I can't get enough of. I don't know if it's because I played a ton of Game Boy Advance SP when I was a kid, or if it's just something else. I really can't get enough of it. And looking inside, there's nothing special either. You have start and select buttons, a D-pad, ABXY buttons, and a function button, and that's really it. On paper, there's nothing special about this handheld, but to me, and I think to so many others, these folding handhelds are just magical. Turning it on, you can see I switched out the stock microSD card with a new one and put on the Miyoo firmware, which I think looks really cool. It was actually recently updated, but this isn't the newest version, and I don't really care about keeping this absolutely up to date. You can see scrolling through, we have all of our consoles here. There's some more settings in here, but I'm not going to go in depth with everything, and if you spotted it for just 1 second while I was on screen, you can see that this thing can even handle up to some PlayStation 1 emulation, which I'm going to show in a minute, but that's genuinely impressive to me for something that costs about $40, and this is actually a few years old, so even back then it was more impressive than it is today. But honestly, for me with a handheld like this, and I'm sure with a lot of other people, I'm going to want to use this thing to play Game Boy Advance games, and that's the main thing that I use it for. So just about any Game Boy Advance game you could think of, I would say its entire library will run perfectly fine on here. And I think I've used this word once or twice already in this video, but something about playing Game Boy Advance games on here just feels magical. Sure, on other handhelds you might have more features, you might have a better screen, you might have better feeling controls, and these controls aren't perfect, but they're still pretty good. But really nothing can compete with, and I'll say it again, the magical experience of playing Game Boy Advance games on a clamshell device like this. And that's what keeps drawing me back to the Powkiddy V90. And like I said, it can't play most PlayStation 1 games, and even a lot of SNES games it can't run perfectly. So it's nothing like that is drawing me to it. I just can't get enough of that flip type action. And that's what has so many people excited about the Miyoo Mini Flip, or the Miyoo Flip. Like I said earlier, I don't know if there's an official name out yet, but a lot of people have been speculating about this handheld, and there have been some leaks that have came out recently showing some photos that are supposedly the work in progress models of the Miyoo Flip. And there's been some mock-ups put out, I don't know if they're official or not, of these crazy pastel colors and a lot of other interesting features. It seems that the Miyoo Flip will have 2 analog sticks, which would be interesting on a smaller device. To me, it seems like it would be a bit cramped, but I think you could get used to using it. From all the rumors that I've seen, they say it's going to have the RK3566 CPU. I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not, or whatever. We're going to find out when they put out some more official information, but if that's the case, it's going to be able to play a lot more Dreamcast and N64 and some PSP and whatnot. These are ones that you would want to have analog sticks with, so I understand that it might be a bit uncomfortable, but out of any other handheld that some people are wishing would come out in 2024, or is rumored to come out in 2024, the Miyoo Mini Flip is the #1 for me. I just can't get enough of these clamshell type devices, and I'm really hoping that it's not another situation where it's one of those handhelds that everyone is talking about. It seems like things are materializing behind the scenes, they're getting ready to release it, they're going to announce something soon, and then nothing comes out, and everyone just realizes after a few months, yeah, I guess this is just never happening. So I really hope that the Miyoo Mini Flip actually will come out, and we could have it soon, because there were some screenshots from the Miyoo support, I think on AliExpress, where they said they plan to have it released in December. I'm not sure how up to date the person doing customer service on AliExpress is with these internal decisions, but that's what they did say in December, and of course we're in January right now, so there have been rumors about January. I'm not holding my breath for January or February. I would love if it did, but I kind of doubt it, and I'm fine waiting as long as it actually comes out and it's done right, I really feel like that could be my go-to daily retro handheld to use. It's not just about the nostalgia of having a handheld that feels like a Game Boy Advance SP. There are some practical advantages to having these clamshell devices too. For example, tossing it in your pocket, not having to worry about keys scratching your screen, or even if you put it in like a backpack or something, you don't want to toss it around and have to fear an analog stick breaking off or something, which can happen, and it's happened to me on some super cheap retro handhelds with their kind of bad quality analog sticks. That can happen, so having it closed, you do have that extra layer of protection, not like you can throw it on the ground and expect anything, but still, that does give you a bit more confidence. And of course, there's always the worries about hinges breaking, which has happened in other clamshell devices. So there's a lot of things to consider there, but I really hope it actually does release and they do it right, because if that's the case, I truly believe that could be my handheld of the year for 2024 and a lot of other people's as well. It's kind of funny how big of a splash that the Miyoo Mini Flip is making, because when you really look at it, aside from the fact that it's in the same form as a Game Boy Advance SP, there's really not that much different between this and many other handhelds that are coming out, and there's not that much hype behind them, really. People just love this new design, and I can't really put words to why it's so great, but it just is. And switching back to the Powkiddy V90 for a second, I know I'm going to title this video something like my favorite flip handheld, and I spent so much time in this video raving about the Powkiddy V90, but really when you think about it, it's not even that great of a handheld. I mean, you can get a handheld like the R36S, which is so much more powerful. It can play every PS1 game basically, it can play some Dreamcast, some PSP, Nintendo DS. It can get up there. The Powkiddy V90 is nowhere near it. But honestly, I get more enjoyment out of playing the Powkiddy V90 than the R36S just because of its form factor. So the Miyoo Mini Flip really doesn't have to do anything special to become my new favorite handheld, and everyone else is going crazy at the prospect of having another Game Boy Advance SP clamshell style handheld, so I think that sentiment is pretty common. There's only been a few other clamshell handhelds, and not really many that are actually supposed to be like a Game Boy, it's just larger ones like Retroids. But there's something special about having a smaller pocketable version like the Powkiddy V90, and I suspect the Miyoo Mini Flip will be the same, but even better. So I really hope that going forward, flip handhelds will become a trend. That's a trend that I'm certainly behind, and I would love if Ambernic would push one out, maybe a generic one made by the same manufacturers of the R36S, or really anything. I would welcome all of that with open arms in 2024. So if you want to see the review of the Miyoo Mini Flip when it comes out, because no doubt I'm going to be buying it as soon as possible. As soon as I can get my hands on it, I will, and I'll be reviewing it. So if you want to see more retro handheld content like this, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.